Keep It 100 is brought to you by Triple Double, smacking asses and taking names since 1987. La, 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 la. This is a quote from my haters, yeah. You got me feeling like the greatest, yeah. Bitch, I'm about to blow up. What's going on, world? Or nobody. Bitch, I'm about to blow up. Or most likely somewhere in between. My name is Casey Huckle, and I'm delivering to you Keep It 100. What is Keep It 100 about? Quotes. Yep, quotes. Meaning adages, truisms, figures of speech, expressions, sayings, lines, you name it. Yes, a group of words put together that are usually pithy, memorable, have meaning, sentiment. I would like to tell you that there has been a change to the show. Instead of trying to hustle 100 episodes and 100 quotes, one per episode, into a year, I've decided to extend it. I've made it about 50 quotes in a year. I didn't quite reach my deadline. Had some roadblocks in my life, but I'm going to keep on trucking and make it to 100, hopefully. I don't know. Just a healthier pace for me. I don't think of a couple quotes a week. I don't want to force anything. So I've extended the show to another year, approximately. So I hope you enjoy. Make sure you rate, review my show on iTunes if you can. Tell your friends, your grandmother, whoever. And without further ado, let's get started. Half the harm that is done in this world is due to people who want to feel important. They don't mean to do harm, but the harm does not interest them, or they do not see it, or they justify it because they are absorbed in the endless struggle to think well of themselves. T.S. Eliot, The Cocktail Party, 1949, Act 1, Scene 1. So, I'm going to break this down very simply. This is about narcissism, and I've had my battles with it. Sometimes I don't think I'm narcissistic. Sometimes I believe I am. Sometimes I'm proud or maybe not ashamed of it. Sometimes I am ashamed of it. And sometimes I wonder if I am one. Sometimes I hope I had never heard I was one. But here I go, talking about myself. And actually that is of course, the premise of the show. Keep It 100 is how the quote I choose reflects on me. But it's my show, and you can listen to it or not. And that's generally how I'll just stick to America. Generally how America works is due to capitalism, we're free to express ourselves, and sometimes the narcissists win out. I mean, look at President Trump. That's a perfect example right there. And I would describe him as a grandiose narcissist. And sometimes I think my issues with it is just stems from taking things extremely personally. If I'm forgotten about, if I'm dumped, if I'm fired, if I'm denied a job, if I denied an interview, or I thought an interview went well and I didn't get the job, and I'm like, fuck that person, whoever rejected me. I've been rejected, failed over 10 times, majorly. I failed with plenty of women too, and that's just life, but I don't handle it as well as I'd like to, and probably don't handle it as well as the normal person, the normal healthy person might be like, stewing about it for 5 to 10 minutes and or maybe a half an hour, but not like very severely. and not for too long, and then they're able to move on to the present rational moment. They return to their rational selves. While me, I could ruminate it for days. And I just get, I think you can, I call it mental masturbation. I think that's my biggest issue is, I can get so enraged, because I'm just so attached to myself and my image and, my reputation and my legacy. That's why you could call me a narcissist. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm a shitty person. And actually the quote does say in the, to go back to it, the second sentence, they don't mean to do harm, but the harm does not interest them. And then the third sentence, or they do not see it, or they justify it because they are absorbed in the endless struggle to think well of themselves. I'm at least aware of it. And my issue is that I may be too aware of it or too ashamed of it. So I'm kind of like trying to become an anti-narcissist. You know, like I got so wrapped up in how others perceive me that, you know, it affects my thinking and it gives me. Sorry, I'm trying to digest a Coke. God, the fucking carbonation. I'm trying to. So most of the time, I'm just trying to be. I'm so ashamed of being a narcissist or any negative label, because labels are really important to me. That I'm trying to be. I'm always trying to get the perception, just like Trump is, get the perception that I'm positive, that people look at me highly, you know, and look what's happening to him. You know, I guess narcissists take that too far. Now, I don't think I'm the typical narcissist because because of that awareness and maybe fear of that label. So I at least have a lot of insight. And so, so the quote, let me tell you about how it started, and then I'll walk you through kind of my issues with narcissism, and let me tell you why I chose the quote. I almost put the quote. I discovered it must have been in 2011, because that's when I was writing 14 Minutes of Fame, which is a screenplay that was unfinished and probably will never be finished, and that was about my desire for fame, and the screenplay was about me. That was the joke. That was the satire. That it was about my. I traveled to Hollywood at the beginning in the first act, and then the second act was me becoming famous, and the third act was me struggling with fame. And I want to say I remember the number exactly. I got to 67. I wrote 67 pages, and I was maybe halfway done with the story, and I just couldn't finish it because I knew I was just too afraid. The goal of the screenplay was to overcome vulnerability, and I just couldn't do that. I mean, I'd say most people would probably see me as crazy if they heard about this. They're like, "What are you? Are you okay? What are you trying? Why would you ever? Why would you want to be famous, man? What's wrong with you?" My parents have told me ever since I started to tell them, like, "Hey, I want to be very rich and famous, and I was coming from a grandiose place, and that's how I got the narcissism label." But my parents would, they called me out on it and sent me to a psychiatrist. But I still wanted to write the screenplay, and half the time I was trying to make it happen. But let me tell you how the quote links with that. I was gonna put the quote, simultaneously while writing it. I found the quote. I don't remember exactly where, but I definitely didn't read the play, The Cocktail Party, which I'll tell you about what it's about. But this will be a long episode. I have a lot to say about this. So I put the quote in at the very beginning of the script. So it would have been in the beginning of the movie. And the idea was I was using myself as a vehicle as a personal, satire for how in this our generation, in this culture, in this time, like it just seems like, with social media, everyone wants to be famous and people want to get more likes than everyone else. And this competition has become really unhealthy for us. And so I was going to use myself as an example, as a satire, and I was going to play myself because, of course, I wanted to be famous. I wanted to be on the screen. But that movie will never be made, 14 Minutes of Fame. And so since 2011, I'll catch you up to 2020, put the script away, and then a couple years ago, I tried to write like a second draft, and I couldn't write it. So I tried to write a treatment, and I sent it to some producers I knew. Not really, I didn't know them well, but no one really responded. So let me jump forward to just following the timeline of the quote in my relationship with it. I came across it a few months ago because I was COVID-19 hit in early 2020. It's now the last day of July, so it's July 31st, 2020. So for the last couple of months, I got furloughed from my job. I found a job, I disliked it, and I quit it after a fucking month. And then in June, after getting furloughed, I think in April, I started to rap. I started to rap again, and this was my third stint with rapping. I started rapping in college in 2008, and then I quit in 2009, and then I picked it up again in 2016. That was very brief, and then this time it was very brief, and I think it may have had a lot of meaning. It was maybe more than a coincidence. I like to think that it was maybe a sign that the pursuing rap was just an act of grandiose narcissism. I was really just seeking major external validation. And when I released my rap songs, I made about 12 of them. I was sending them to my friends, and they enjoyed them. Some of them didn't react to them, and then I get upset about that a little bit. And that, to talk about, taking things personally, there's an example. But I released it online. I finally, YouTube was like the ultimate release, channel of release for my music. And I released it on YouTube, and I got like 12 views. Didn't get, my mom hated it. She told me to take some of the songs down. I had my passport photo in, even though it was backwards, I had my passport photo in one of to replace the video on YouTube, and that had my passport number on it. So my brother-in-law, who's a lawyer, told me, hey, you don't want to do that. You got to take that down. And so I went crazy again, and July has been absolutely hell. And I found this quote maybe 2 weeks ago, and I just found it really fitting that I found it in 2000. It must have been 11. I'm going to say 11, doesn't really matter. But I found it then, and then I found it again in 2020 while I was trying to pursue these they're not narcissistic endeavors in and of themselves, but that's what I made it about. That's what it was for me. It was really just about, hey, how can the world jerk me off? How can they're going to love me. They're going to adore me. And sure enough, the first time around with the screenplay in 2011, following the rapping, that never happened. That never made it to the screen. I never even finished the screenplay. And then this rapping led to some major suicidal thoughts. I mean, I was fighting to survive